When it comes to the race issue, this is how I've grown up. I was raised, and this is my standpoint on the race issue.
We're experts of nothing, but we have opinions about everything.
I'm an equal to white folk, Indian folk, colored folk, Chinese folk. Wherever in the world, when I step into an airport, a boardroom, a restaurant, I'm here, yo. I am him. And the reason I say that is the term black excellence. What I feel it does, as much as people are in the pursuit of black excellence, we need to be in pursuit of excellence. Because once we speak about black excellence, we're getting to a point where it's only relative to us. And it's not relative to us being in Canada, in Brazil, in Taiwan, in Australia. And if we speak about excellence as South Africans, if you look at people that have pushed the limits globally, very few black people have done so for us to create that, once again, the critical mass of us being seen as equals. So when it comes to the transformation thing, I always say we're pushing for excellence. This whole black excellence thing, that's not what I say. I say, guys, when we are in the space, we're here. I don't need to remind you that I'm black. I am black. Excellence, that's a different story. I'm excellent in what it is that I do, what I've done.
Okay, welcome to the Walk and Talk Conversations. I am not like the MC or the host here. I've just started off. Like feeling a bit weird about starting, So you got a bunch of young people around this beautiful campfire. We're at Gibaland, right? Gibaland? Yeah. Gibaland, that's where we at. Such a cool place, man.
Shout out to Leo.
So around this awesome campfire, it's a bunch of really awesome, cool people. As we go around, you'll see their names pop up. So you get to know their thoughts. Why do they think like that? Make sure you follow us on Walk and Talking, because we really want to know what you think while we have our conversations. Because we're experts of nothing, but we have opinions about everything. That's why we're young people. Right? So I know we've got Gen Z, Gen X, Millennials. What generation are you from?
I decided to stop.
So you think we're already off on a good note. We're sitting around a campfire, and I can't be the only one that's triggered. I'm thinking, boom, load shedding. Yeah. This could just be our life, for this could be our life, but so we have to talk about how do we feel about what's going on? What do we understand about load shedding? And how do we feel about, maybe if am I going too deep for you when I go, what do we think about the country privatizing case? What do we think about it? What do we understand about it, right? What's beautiful here? Konabantu know more than us. Konabantu have questions. So kunas kunde, relax.
So people don't know how to start fires.
More people start no fire.
So, just say whatever you want to say, and we want to kick it off at Gibaland in the year 2023, right? We grew up with electricity. Now, this is a new phenomenon. It's a new pH for us. They will abbreviate everything. It's a new pH for us. Okay. How are we feeling about load shedding right now? Like, how are you feeling? How are you feeling about being a South African and load shedding? But I'm gonna just direct it. I'm gonna start off with you, Zoe.
Right.
So hi everyone. My name is Linda Mbugazi. So I think, I'll talk about how load shedding has affected me as a student, as a YouTuber, as an influencer, because I'd get tired where I have an exam, and then the previous night I can't study because there's no electricity, and if you have exam the next day, I didn't have enough time to prep up. So being affected cool, and it's not just me, but other students being on the computer at school, and sometimes it will start our exam and then the computers go off. Then what we do, we have to wait, spend hours at school, seeing those who get so boy. So that's how it's affecting me. That's all I have to say for now.
Do you think it makes sense maybe to government to prioritize the AMA University? You know how they're saying where there's hospitals, it won't go off now because someone might be having an operation, and then if a criminal case, they might, Dad, do you think universities and schools should also be prioritized the same way that hospitals are being prioritized?
I think we should gently have that day similar to hospitals, because I live very close to campus, like it's a 2-minute walk, but we still don't have electricity when campus is off. Not the thing. And like she said, submissions are always going to be late or whatever, and just being warm when you study is also very important. It's very important to be warm while you do it and be comfortable. Now, it's hard when you have to calm down. 5 minutes. Now I have to go cook like I'm on MasterChef. And try and press my slides. It's hard. It's really hard. I think I share the same sentiments as a sister, because I feel, personally for me, I don't experience any like load shedding with where I live.
It's just you're on holiday.
It's such a portal thing. Yeah, like I actually thought for a while that it's because we live next to a hospital, but I don't actually think it's because of that. I think it's because of the fact that we live next to an industrial area. So we never experience load shedding, but I do, however, really feel some type of way towards the people that are actually experiencing this, because it really is a serious problem, especially to our shooters, yeah.
So you're not a member of parliament, you're not a minister.
Yeah, so I'm her neighbor. Although we don't experience it directly, but whenever you go out into the world, you almost forget that you don't experience load shedding. So you go into a mall, you go into the office, you go into any type of space, and it's so normal for everyone else that we don't have electricity. And then you see people, I remember we've got relatives as well that are very affected by it. Sometimes it's even 4 hours. So they come through with food, to keep it, and, to bring it back to petrol. So there's a lot of other factors, it's not just about I can't watch TV. Real people are experiencing real issues. Food is going off. There's kids and all of these things. So yeah, it's a huge thing all around.
When I just say something with regards to prioritizing power, hospitals, universities, businesses, small businesses, big enterprises are also getting affected heavily. Despite the COVID lockdown and the retrenchments, all of that, it's only getting worse. We already have a problem of unemployment in this country. 58%, just about 58% of youth is unemployed. And it's Youth Month, I feel like we should be speaking about that as well. Yes, ESCOM's load shedding affects the country, businesses, supply chain, individuals, families. It all boils down to even the smallest or entry-level individual, or the youngest adult, or even kids are getting affected. How do we prioritize power? Because Mimi just mentioned, should universities be prioritized as well as hospitals? But how do we now decide what matters most for this country? How do we decide that for future generations as well? Yes, students are very important. Education is very important. Businesses are also very important. Supply chains are very important. Families are important. Well-being, standard of living, all of that is very important as well. Employment as well is utmost importance in this day and age. So how do we prioritize power? I know it's a big one because it's very hard. It's like asking, we should get an ICU unit or not. But the whole country is in ICU, sort of. If you guys don't know about that, but yeah.
Just to answer you briefly, maybe I think it's a trap if we start having conversations about what power do we prioritize, because that's where they want you, which is to think, okay, we'll accept that there's load shedding, but now, okay, let's prioritize. What we should be saying as young people is say, guys, what kind of leadership do we want to have to prevent load shedding? How can we prevent this from happening again? And that's the pressure that we need to be putting on, not on who should we prioritize, because that shouldn't even be a question, right? It's a problem that we're living with load shedding. It's a problem that like, I don't want to go to sleep at 8, but I feel like whenever there's load shedding, it forces me to go to bed. It's very tight. Like the president is putting you to sleep. It's like, hey, it's your turn to sleep now. I don't like that, you know. And as a lot of you said, like, you can't plan your day properly. You can't be writing a test tomorrow. Like, you know, I just have to let the whole country know, dude. I'm writing a test tomorrow. But I don't fall for that trap of this is what we need to prioritize. The problem is leadership has failed. We need electricity. We can't be rationing out electricity. That's it.
Yeah, no.
Just to add on to my brother Zipo's point. Good evening, everyone. I think first and foremost, as South Africans, we're becoming too used to accepting mediocrity.
Yeah.
We need to step away from that. Because if we look at where we're at, it's an electricity issue. The next one, and we've spoken about this, next is water. Water cuts, water shedding, whatever they're going to term. And we can't find ourselves in a situation where we're being distracted by excuses.
Yeah.
The people that are guilty of their dereliction of duty. So they've taken their hands off the wheel and there's no one guiding this ship. And what we need to be focusing on, instead of, you know, with all due respect, I understand it's a stopgap measure to prioritize, but our main priority should be fixing the problem. You can't be sitting and saying, okay, there's going to be hospitals, there's going to be schools, there's going to be law enforcement, police stations, whatever. Yes, we understand right now that's where we are, but our focus should be on fixing the problem. It's a problem that can be fixed. That's a problem that should have been fixed, and people are not able to fix it. We need to understand what the issue is and why it can't.
Do we have the money to fix the problem?
We've got the people to fix it. They don't need the money.
People to fix it.
Yeah, correct. And the money will always find the money. The money is there. I don't care what people say. If we need to redirect our budget, if we need to get new investment, if we need to get outside investment, people will come. But the issue that we've had is, if you look at the origins of load shedding in 2008, just before the World Cup, I mean, the World Cup was endangered. So it died out, and then it picked up again in 2013, 14. And then there was that period between, let's call it 2013 and 2017, 18 maximum, where that problem was resolved. You ask yourself, how did they resolve the problem? Because it's a fact. If you look at the statistics, there was no load shedding in that period. It is, ESCOM's right now is being run by in my view, lawyers and accountants as opposed to engineers. A lot of the engineers were you know, they had fingers pointed at them for whatever wrongdoing. Some may be true, some may not be true. So a lot of that capacity was lost. People were fired, people were laid off. So you're finding a situation where in the power stations, at head office, people really don't know what's happening. That's why they can't fix the problem. That's number one. Number two, there's been a discussion on coal-fired power stations as opposed to renewables and the goals that we're supposed to attain for the 2030 zero emissions globally as per the COP conferences, whatever milestones we're supposed to reach as countries for part of this global signal. What has happened is renewables has been pushed. You look at the rest of the world, there have been some great developments in renewables in Europe, in North America, parts of Asia, and South Africa. No matter what people say, the biggest load of coal manure we've been told is that we need to shut down the coal-fired power stations. It's not going to. South Africa is a heavy industry country that cannot run on solar, that cannot run on wind or hydroelectric, and whatever other hydroelectricity, whatever other renewables. It's coal, it's nuclear, or it's gas, like any other society that runs it.
So to coal or to renewable?
Right now, let's focus on coal. Let's perfect the power stations first. Whilst we build up the renewable capacity. We haven't done that.
I think besides cuts,
What we're doing is we've shut out, we've actually closed down some of the power stations. We've taken away capacity. We used to be a net exporter of energy. We've now become dependent on burning diesel. Now, if you look at the cost of it, and my final point is the opportunities that exist for people in that space where there's turmoil in the system. If you look at the biggest budgets that have been spent during a load shedding or power crisis has been on diesel. And ask yourself why. There's people that are making crazy amounts of money.
Mm-hmm.
The amount that's been budgeted for this winter, if I'm not mistaken, like 30 billion rand to burn diesel. The problem of ESCOM can be fixed. It's not a simple fix, but it's definitely a fix, and it can be done within a 6 to 8 month period.
So
it's been done before. That's what I'm saying. and bear in mind, there's been Kusile, there's been Madumpi that's been brought on life. Right. Nuclear, we had a chance to build nuclear power plants in Fringi 12.
Yeah.
NGOs, there was political issues and saying favoritism towards the potential Russian service providers. If we built a nuclear power station then, at least starting, this would be near completion, if not having some of this nuclear capacity online as part of our energy mix.
I think, guys, we're in an abusive relationship. What we asking now is, how often should my partner beat me? But every day is once a week. Are we okay with hiding on Friday? We'll say Monday's work. If he can hit me Wednesday, I'll be fine Monday. At least the feeling's gone down. Guys, yeah, that's the saddest thing. We in the saddest place. And when we look at these things, we look at them, we take a bird's eye view. We don't drill down. So people talk about privatizing. Understand that no stakeholder should monopolize any sector. Yes, ESCOM, we're building ESCOM right now, right? Yeah. But if you look at SAA, right? SAA wasn't performing, you're like, nah, let's privatize this. But understand what privatizing, for example, SAA means. It means somebody owns the plane, right? Somebody owns the entry points. Somebody, not you, can bring in what they want, can take out what they want. Not you. Those things that they can take out aren't necessarily checked or taxed.
Yes.
Not you, McKinnon. Understand. Now, this person has a capacity. They doing a deal somewhere. They say, you know what? I just bring that thing in. I can put it in my couches. It's fine. You try and take that and put it where you feel like. It's a certain kind of capacity you need to be able to do that. You understand? Now we go to this one. Guys, people are taking rockets to space and they're returning. Electricity is what a new thing. We're South Africans now, electricity is on our mind like it's a new thing. There is a massive regression in terms of our leadership capacity. Right? And we're skirting around those issues. Right? Yeah. And my thing is a simple thing. You're not even fighting with leaders. I like simple, practical examples. Grand or Ubaba is now 80 at all, or 75. Would you, as a family, because the thing with us, people of color, especially black people, by the time you are 20, you're contributing to a home. You leave home, but you still pay rent or what or a contribution. You understand? You haven't been home in 10 years.
But your money at
On the 28. If your mother doesn't get that contribution, what's the conversation like? And if you want to know how well you're doing, see if family meetings happen without you. You're doing fine. Maybe you like it and say, oh, I'm not going to Wait, let's talk about. And then I had my one uncle who hadn't obviously been around the family for a long time. He said to my mom, yeah, you're talking about Winston. Is he the eldest? No, he's the youngest. But he's the deepest. Oh, you don't make it anywhere else.
I heard it too.
I'm not.
And
I'm good. Say, understand that you've been given those roles and responsibilities in your 20s already. And then now you're 40. And then people are saying, but you're too young. Right? Then you speak to your grand or your father and he's not working anymore. You say, hey, Dad, why? He said, no, that was too much pressure. I'm 70 now. I just want to spend time with my grandkid. Right? But the same person now I'm speaking just takes over the country and he's okay to take the most pressurized job. Guys, don't let the past hold you hostage. We're there. You understand? We are looking at the world through the rearview mirror. Yes, it's important to remember your past, but what's really important is where you're going. Right? So when we talk to our politicians now and we ask them, why are we in this situation? Say, in 1973, taking away from what happened. Then you say, okay, so how do we fix it and move forward? That's like applying his mind to that. You understand? Because he's holding on to the crutch of the past. Now, be careful. No excuse. Even a good one makes you better. There is some comfort in an excuse. Careful, you are not that person. Why haven't you done well? Hey, I lost my parents when I was 14. See that story? Although it's true, now it makes me respond to you in a certain way that gives you comfort. And be careful you're not that person. Because understand that you can't wish away the privilege of struggle. Why am I calling struggle a privilege? Because struggle determines your success. You're only successful relative to your struggle. If you were born rich and now you're still rich, would you be able to call yourself successful? No. The benchmark is you had 100 million, you had 105. It's like, you didn't do well. But you were at 0. Now you're at 2 million. Die well. And what's the difference there? The privilege of struggle. Don't wish it away. You understand? It's not the result. It's that journey. And I know it sounds cliche, but people, it really is that journey. Because without the journey, your story wouldn't be worth the mention. You can take it from any angle in history. David killed Goliath. Why is David's story worth mentioning? He had a stone, a sling, and Goliath was huge. So he was outgunned, for lack of a better term, right? So it's the struggle that makes your story worth mentioning. If there's no struggle, there's no story. So please don't let us, and I see too many young people in love with the sob story. In love with it. Comforts us. It's like your blanket. Yeah, so I think those are the things we need to think about.
Hey.
Had us in the band. He was like in the show, like.
You know, I can't help myself while Winston's talking to think about, cool, sharp, there's privilege in my struggle, right? And now the struggle is staying for too long because of the realities of unemployment. There are some graduates sitting amongst us going, dude, I hear you. I can't even do the black tax you're talking about. Now I have nothing to contribute. You know, I don't feel like someone's looking out for me. I don't feel like the government has my back. I've been sitting with this degree and it's collecting dust. You know what I mean? Cool, we'll talk about entrepreneurship, but where do I even get the capital from? You know? So now what's happening is we're turning into a very angry youth because now, you guys are opinionated. We just feel like no one cares, no one sees again, you know? So how do we even contribute? Do we have graduates amongst us or someone that's about to graduate, yeah? Like about a year? You're about to graduate? Are you scared? Yeah, very scared. Like that. Scared of the sting of it.
I'm good because I have a lot of friends who are at home and they are like 24 years of age. So I'm scared of the reality of being at home and what might do to my mental health, for example. And, just not doing anything is very frustrating, especially in this economy when you want to buy your own thing. As a dad, you want to do that, go there, the lag tax, contribute at home. There's a lot of responsibilities we acquire as we grow. And it's getting kind of scary to have to graduate and I have to face those responsibilities. Because life as a student and as an unemployed person is very much different. Yeah. And a student, you get some sort of comfortability, yes, from maybe your parents or family or whatever. Nice person.
WITS, UCT, UWC, UKZN, those are all universities. Where are the universities that we've built? One or two? Let's build those so we don't have to now go and fight and start talking about decolonizing and the history of it, even though it's there, we get it. But we can't now be fighting it. It needs to change. Not the conversation, our actions. Because the problem we have is we talk too much. We're not walking it. We're not walking it. So without hogging the space, we need to be more action driven. We need to understand what we're fighting for, unfortunately, is not for us. It's for that generation coming after us, our kids, kids. If we don't look at it that way, we're wasting our time.
Yeah.
We're wasting our time.
How could I have done it right?
All right.
So we only want to act when something is close to us, and this is how we've been brought up. And I'm add on to what Winston says is that in our communities where we brought up is that when you finish matric, it's like, hey, mama, I made it, and it becomes a struggle thing of because my brother never make it, I need to make it, and it becomes peer pressure from at home is that once you have this certificate, forget about what comes afterward. Whether I'm sitting at home and I'm unemployed or anything, it becomes a mentality change of I'm there, I've done my part. And she was speaking on what do you do after tertiary? What do you do when you finish now? And this is the problem that we're having. And Zani would say that we need to start working towards things that are going to be beneficial to the youth. And when I say the youth, I mean everybody. But because it doesn't affect us, we're like, no, okay, who can sort these stuff out? They'll sort themselves out. I've studied, they can fight their own battles. And we fail to understand is that we need to support each and everybody, no matter where we come from. And that's where diversity comes in. That's the way we work together, no matter what. The end goal is that, and I'll be honest, most of these politicians, they all have the same end goal. Whether it's PA, DA, ANC, whoever. The main goal is to get their country functioning. But we're fighting one another, guys. For what reason is that even as youth, we have these groups and stuff as that we're fighting amongst ourselves when we don't need to, and we can stand up for one another and say, guys, we understand the problem of ESCOM. How do we fix it? The reason why I'm saying Zani was saying 8 months to a year can be fixed 100%. We're implementing solar. Solar's been running around. Solar energy that's been pushed more than ESCOM itself. So we shouldn't be talking about finance when it comes to that. If we can finance solar, we can definitely finance Matupi and all these places, And I'm saying as an international person that travels, you come to Moses Mapida. I want to take a picture because I'm in Essay. Stand behind Moses Mapida and there's no lights. It's the day.
That makes it so nice.
We missed the point is that how do I go back home? I'm saying overseas and say, guys, I was at Moses Mapida. Where's this place? Because there's no lights behind it. That's a problem for us, but it's become such a normality where we come from Suncoast and we walk across Moses Mapida and we think it's fine. Guys, it's not fine. We shouldn't say that these things are fine. We know there's supposed to be lights there 365 days of the year, but it's become so norm that we don't even care anymore. So us as a country, how are we going to change it moving forward?
Before Winston comes in, solution-wise, just to answer the question that was raised. To fix our economy, to fix our social ills, including the education system, is a political fix. Simple as that. Why I'm saying that is what we're doing is we're fighting this battle from the ground up. It's grassroots, it's these conversations, you're all understanding issues. So unless you go from the top down, meaning, guys, let's populate the positions of power with people that are interested and willing to do what needs to be done to create those changes. Economic reforms, social reforms, structural reforms. It's the only way. Unless we change certain rules that govern us, it is not going to happen. It's as simple as that. That's why the political struggle needs to be taken on by everyone. It's not now meaning if you're involved in politics, you want to become a councillor or mayor. No, but you have to take interest within your institutions, within your communities, within your families, to say, guys, this is where we're trying to go. I'm willing to do it. I put my hand up. Someone's clearly paying to do it. We're going to get it done. And it needs to be done by people, similar thinking, like-mindedness, and people that are fit for that fight, as it says.
I speak to young business guys, and the guy goes from Tinder to Tinder. So he's up, then 2-3 years, nothing. Then he needs another big Tinder. He's up into the chances of him having a craft business is not doable, because you need the day-to-day, what keeps the lights on. I hear you got that Tinder, but what do you do every day? What's your core company? You understand? Now, if you appreciate those interactions, successful people are always willing to tell you their story. They're always willing to give you advice. Don't believe the hype. They are, because it's flattering. Someone saying, hey, I see you as someone who could mentor me. It's flattering. The problem with young people is you don't like the advice. The medicine tastes bad. Because you thought you were going to come and it was going to be nice. It was going to, your degree, you were going to shout. No. Just wash the car. I'm an accountant. Yeah, but wash the car. So wax on, wax off situation. You understand? And I know I'm using an extreme example, but I'm saying it to say that what you formulated in your mind, my level of, well, forget that. All right, you got your degree, you know it. But start from zero today. This interaction with Duduzane, you might be cutting grass because he's cutting grass. Oh, you too big to cut grass. Yes. Yeah. You understand? You understand? Now. So what happens? You don't cut the grass because this is beneath me, right? But now an MD, a guy who's made billions, is cutting grass. So what's he thinking about you? Oh, you that type. Okay. We'll see when I'm done cutting this grass if you and I do anything, because if you okay with me doing it and you not okay with doing it, why should I be talking to you? That's a human interaction. That's an emotional thing. That person's walking away saying, you, not on my dead body. You understand? Because, and I say to young people, are you working? No. Were you in Newlands? Yes. You know this is Duduzane's ward? Yes. You know he's on the ground at 7 tomorrow cutting grass. And you, if you go, you come at 11:30. You cut a little bit so he sees you. And then fine, you gone. But he's there from 7 and leaves like at 6. What impression? Now that is not even about your degree. It's not about nothing. It's about your work ethic and what you left. The impression you made on him is like not a chance. But guess what? That same guy on the weekend say, actually, Baba, I wanted to talk to you about this concept of mine. Yes, I think, understand, before your degree, before everything else, you're a human being engaging with another human being. How is that feeling? What is the engagement like? Because if he doesn't, or you don't, or whatever, don't feel like it's not going in. Forget that paper.
So, before you continue, if I may, please introduce yourself. Just a short intro. You don't have to say.
Hi guys, my name is Pumla. Well, I'm short here.
And I'm so sorry for not saying anything, but I'm a little bit nervous. And yeah, I'm trying to settle in. Yeah.
Thank you very much, man. Yeah.
Hi guys. My name is Yonela. Hi.
Thank you. Oh, there's one more. Please pass the mic.
Say it right. So I'm Jackie. Yeah. Hi. Hi. I'm Jackie. Hi. I'm the dyslexic couple of my natives.
Thank you, Jackie, Yonela, and Pumla. The reason for that is it's a collective effort. Even though you don't have much to contribute vociferously, your presence and just an intro, something simple, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And secondly, if this show or anyone around this table or this fire, should I say, gets sued, we're all in it together. We're sitting quietly. People, I didn't say anything. Now that we got that out the way, thank you.
There's something that Winston is talking about, which is actually a nice segue into another discussion, because basically he's talking about character development more than the qualification, because a lot of us fall in love with the qualification more than the character. I was having a discussion with Linda earlier behind the scenes, and she was talking about how women have an issue with peer pressure, and that's something that seems to hold women back. And I'm seeing there's a lot of women here, so I think maybe that's something that I would like to better understand from the horse's mouths, not mouths, and this shit. And because we look at society now, and we're always saying it's a man's game, women need to find a way into what men do, or just society in general. So it seems from that discussion, it seems that there's a lot of things that hold women back just internally, not even from the world, just women themselves. So how can we, what are the issues first? And then how can we, as a society, men and women, because I don't like discussions where it's like, oh, men versus women. I don't like discussions like that. I like discussions where it's men and women finding solutions for men and women.
Yes.
So I don't know, maybe if some of you kind ladies would give us some.
You really in there? I feel like you're on the first.
You was listening, right? Yonela.
For me, peer pressure is not an issue. I mean, I believe in my own pace. Because if peer pressure is being shy, because in 2017 in high school, and my peers have graduated already, but I ain't affected it. I'm cool with that. I think it depends on and the situation that you're in. Yes. So sometimes it's not that peer pressure shy. We move right now, but shy. Yeah. And sure, peer pressure. One about you know. You pressure me. Yes.
Oh, that's good. I'm looking around at you. What are your struggles as a woman in SA, or as a black woman in South Africa? And
for me, I think social media has a huge impact on how we see ourselves as women. So if we're not, you know, I work around that space. You know, I've seen what people like the most. So if we're not, like me, I want to slice guys, yeah, but so social media, if you're not thick, if you do not have those nice perky boobs and that ass, then you do not fit in. You are nothing. If you're not driving that luxury car, not wearing those nice heels or nice shoes, expensive clothes, then I'll fit you in. Yeah, so for me, I shy peer pressure, you know, because I grew up in Kulenga. My dad was always like, move at your own pace, you know, know where you're going and focus on that. It doesn't matter, you know, and I'm willing to work hard for everything that I'm going to have in the future. I'm not going to have a man come lay everything in front of me. I'm like, okay, Senya, collect, because most women but I can only be rich and have everything if I have a man, only man. So women study to so women are no longer studying. It's okay, sebe study for lama degree lao so they can show off. Benzele kon le challenge le dumile manje le se people. Yabalanga Maliana, Mr. West, don't, you know, that's what's trending. So they take videos of the whole journey whatsoever. But you know, London I encourage it because, you know, I do have a sister, graduated, but sitting at home, you know. I'm busy, I'm a student, but I told myself something. I'm not going to sit down and wait because I'm a professional chef. I'm working towards that. So, I'm also working on myself. It came to a point where then one about 4, so you know, this one about 4. I would cook before I go to school. I would cook also my sister, my older sister would do the deliveries for me and I'll go to school. Because for me, it's just like, I'm getting leaned 4 years before I actually start something of my own. I'm just going to keep going until I get where I want to get. And I'm not going to waste any more time because I did 12 years high school already. That was a lot of time wasted. We are about 40, university. I'm wasting another 4 years of my time, and my parents are investing money into that career. Low money, and no one is gonna offer me umsebenzi kanjalo. We are about us engineer umsebenzi, you know. And it has gotten to a point where our women often have to open their legs to get a job. Leon isishaya labantu abayideservayo opportunity to okay lawyer deserve ukuthi abe lapha, but because ikhona laba abavele bethi hayi mina ngizokunika lokho atshengisa umzimba wakhe, and then lona ke odeservayo usesala kanjalo. We need to change how we think as women. You need to respect yourself because ekugcineni dignity yakho is more important than zonke lezo zinto. And we are cooler. Uzobuka and then what? Are you cool or not? Yeah.
Yeah. No.
If I can just add on, sorry. I think also the type of pressure that we allow for ourselves to be sexually. Yeah. Personally, social media doesn't faze. If you are doing the most as an influencer, kudos to you. But the problem that I do have is the comfort that women have as being the first black woman or the only black person or the only black woman in a seat. That's my problem. Sorry, it's my
I'm only to tell you all.
I don't do anything.
Loadshedding at 8.
Really sorry about that. So I think finding comfort in saying I'm the only woman on the seat and it feels good, because what you didn't, and you don't have to bring everyone in, but don't also find companies to look around you and say, which other women am I empowering? We're not doing the right things, even with those that are at these high places. For example, my boss is a black female, and unfortunately, she's threatened by the women that are around her to an extent that you know, simple things as, you know, if you're doing certain reports and you have a skill because you went to school for it, and you know, you can see the problem and you're trying to be, you know, develop something with her, suggest something, and complete shutdown. And the next thing you hear, it's being implemented by her. She's taking the shine. Or you're doing the reports and she takes credit for it. So it's like, when do we then, as women, build each other up? Because the pressure of social media, that's one thing. But at work, it's like we're almost fighting for that position to be the woman at the top. You'll even hear those statements like, oh no, she's the only woman in a panel. She's the only woman up with the CEOs. And it's like, where are all the rest of the women? Why are you so comfortable being up there? No. Why are you not suggesting, you know, your PA to say, actually, you know, she's skilled enough to actually do something bigger than this? Give her the platform. So I think that's the pressure that we should be focusing on, to say, how can I get to where you are? What did you do to get there? Those are the types of pressures that I feel as women. Yeah, just.
If I may speak as a black woman. Oh no, guys. I'm speaking about a twin sister, so I'm speaking through my yeah, yeah, so these days a lot of things happening. At least I can do speak more. um, I think the most interesting point that was touched upon was, and I'm just going to loosely interpret what was said, is general self-belief by women. There's some women that believe in themselves like proper, and they go getters, and which is cool, and we see them, they end up becoming the only one. But unfortunately, where we're at as a society, and I'll link it back to just the history of women. That's probably the longest period that a cause has been fought, is the struggle of a woman for equal rights. We'll leave the race thing, but let's just speak about women. Equal rights, it's been a fight that hasn't been on, still on, and it's something that never ends. And if you look at causes that came after the equal rights for women fights, it was the fight for race as black people. Where do we fit into the world as black people after the abolition of slavery, and that's all. And then if we look at the most recent fights, and I'm talking about probably in the last 45 years, has been the fight for gay rights.
Yeah.
And where we sit today, I think it's clear that the fight for gay rights, and if we look at the LGBTQI plus, if I'm missing any, my apologies. I didn't tune into the news today to see what. Why? Okay. Oh, just making up. From someone that wasn't speaking much now. Yeah. So, if you look at how that fight for relevance has been fought in a short period of time, and it's actually superseded the fight for gender equality and the fight for race equality, you have to learn from it. Not you, but we have to learn from it. The persistence, the belief in getting to a point where today you're not skirting around that conversation. In the workplace, in the social space, it's something that's prevalent. That's what we see on a daily basis.
Yeah.
If you see the colors around this, it's visual. We see the rainbow flag popping up ever so often in neighborhoods and stores and that sort of thing. So the belief and the self-belief that women need to have as a majority, global majority. If we speak about South Africa, as definitely a majority in South Africa, you guys are not taking yourself seriously enough. It's that's the power of having a collective bargaining chip or tool is something that's overlooked. Black people in this country always also, we setting ourselves back because it's the same struggle. There's a majority that exists on the female gender, and that majority is not being used to the best of its abilities. It's not their advantage. You guys are not taking advantage of the situation, whether it be in the workplace, whether it be in the political space. It's great that there are people fighting the cause from an NGO perspective, a human rights perspective, but it's got to be elevated. We have to believe in females. Females need to believe in themselves. It can't just be the one or the few. Everyone's got to walk through that door. It's got to be a critical mass of females that say, you know what, it's our time. We're going to occupy the space. We're going to be heard. We're going to make a difference, and they're going to feel us. It's got to be a concerted effort. It can't be just something where you're waiting for one person to do it, and then every 10 years, hey, remember so-and-so, let's the spirit of so-and-so and carry on. Doesn't work like that. There's an opportunity right now. The world is reshaping.
Yeah.
There's new power plays, there's new dynamics, and let's not fall behind the curve when it comes to the trends that are happening globally. Let's be leaders in.
Hey, why so simple?
Can I just quickly add to the trends comment that Duduzane is speaking about? How many people in South Africa? There's 60 million people in South Africa, right? So you would assume that the government that's in place now was probably voted for majority of the 60 million in the country. You assume that. right? For them to be government, for ANC to be government, you would assume that more than 60 million people voted for them to be government. But the number is actually only 10 million. Only 10 million people voted for the ANC in 2019. Why am I saying this? Because we're talking about trends. We're talking about being ahead of the curve. We're talking about understanding our power as young people. Now, 18 million people, in 2019, 18 million people registered to vote that didn't vote. 18 million people. So 10 million people voted for the ANC. 18 million people registered, wanted to vote, but didn't vote. So why am I saying this? Because out of that 18 million people, 14 million people are young people. 14 million people are young people. So what the trend that we could set as young people is to say, out of us 14 million people, if we just come together and say, this is the path that we want South Africa to take, it doesn't matter what old person is saying anything, or my boss at work that's abusing me, what they're saying or whatever. If us 14 million people say we want to go a certain direction, we can do that and be the government and be the leaders and be whatever it is. So we could set that trend, that Duduzane is talking about. So I'm saying we're having all these nice discussions, but it doesn't mean anything if we don't take actionable steps.
Yeah.
And the first actionable step is next year. Next year when we go and vote, we should be having discussions amongst talking about Thabo Bester and them. We should also be saying, guys, next year we're going to vote. Let's set that trend. There's more of us than there are anyone else in terms of demographics. Understand? Black, white, Indian, it doesn't matter. That's another thing that we need to get rid of. This whole thing about, they black. They white, so they don't...
Why?
Because the reason why, because there's enough good people out, white good people. There's enough good Indian people. There's enough good colored people that can come together and actually identify with the cause of what the problem is. That a lot of politicians, what they've done is they've used race as a divisive tool so that they can be the vanguards of how do we go forward, because they're the ones who identify the issue of race, so therefore they have to have the answers. We say,
Wait. There's so much happening at once, right? Okay, there's so much. I love and I hate the fact we were talking about women issues, and now we're not there, and somehow women are we others devils, as if men play no part.
Who said that?
As if men play no part in where women are today and where they should be. Okay. I loved the fact that there's in this circle right now, right here, there's women.
Where are you going to? Yeah.
Look, and at the same time, cool. So there's that, and it's a big and it's a vast conversation. Okay. Then all of a sudden, at the point of color doesn't matter. The most dangerous conversation to ever have when our democracy is only 28 years old.
Yeah.
But also, and that's why if we're going to talk transformation, honey, Johnny, and I want to come to you, right? And if we're going to talk transformation, I want you to also remember you're the same gens that said to us, let's forget the past and move forward. But then I want to know what your thoughts are. And Winston, I'm going to pull you in on this one. Your thoughts on transformation before I say what I actually want to say.
All right. So the general point that I make
is you watch Barbie Girl? Oh my God!
the newest. The general point that I'm making is, once again, the lack of self-belief. And the trends that were spoken about, and I fully agree with what Sipo was saying. Victim. And when we speak about transformation, and we speak about history, when we play the blame game on either side of the race card or the gender card, is victim. We've gotten too comfortable in sitting in a position where we are the victims. Right? Females, biggest victims in this country. Black people have been the biggest victims in this country. Young people are the biggest victims in this country. Now, if you look at young black female, now it's a trifecta of it's a crazy combination. Now, the point I'm trying to make is we need to take ourselves seriously. Now, it doesn't help. And we understand there's issues out there. I'm not, wishing it away or saying it doesn't exist. But what doesn't help the situation is if we sit and we keep talking about something when we're not willing to take those steps, right? As a majority, female majority, black majority, young majority, right? If we're going to deal with these issues, it needs to start somewhere. People, they talk about the power of the vote in elections, and people take it like, yeah, I'm not voting because there's no one that represents. People have got their reasons for saying what they're saying. But if you have not placed yourself in a situation where you're trying to get people in a position of power that will represent you, you are to blame, right? And what we're saying is, moving forward, as much as people like ignoring politics, we are not going to fix the issues of this country without politics. Why? Because the people that govern this country, the people that make the laws, the people that make the decisions, the people that press those buttons, whether it be in parliament or whether it be in ministerial positions, whether it be commissioners of the different law enforcement agencies and institutions, are people that need to do the right thing. Now, if they're not doing the right thing, who's going to do the right thing? If they don't understand the issues of today, who understands the issues of today better than we do as young people? Now, from my side, as much as the issues of race, I experience racism like everyone else. There's not something where I'm going to say now, what are you talking about? Every day.
You're talking transformation now.
Yeah, we're getting it. Every day. But does that make me hate everyone else that's not my color? No. Does it make me sit in a position where now I feel like a victim? No. In the economic sense, I've been shut out of the South African economy since the end of 2015. You don't see me crying. I'm out here shining. Check the risk. But the reason I'm saying that is I'm not going to let people punch down on me and keep me down. It's not going to happen because I'm better than that. I've got self-belief and I've got belief in others that are similar-minded to say, guys, we can do this.
Okay, I'm
Right.
going to say it as this.
Transformation-wise, of course there needs to be transformation. But transformation is not going to happen out of thin air. And transformation won't happen if we don't take ourselves seriously. Because what happens when we have an opportunity to do something? It doesn't happen. And I always go back to the example of Fees Must Fall. Fees Must Fall in South Africa, what year was that? 2016. Was one of the biggest global movements that have happened in a long time. Where is it now? Who was it led by? By young people. Looking for what? For transformation. Has the transformation happened? Hell no. Why? Because it doesn't help just protesting and making noise. That's just the one element of it, and that's creating awareness. That's the follow-through. We do not have people in positions to follow through. That's why we find ourselves in this situation. So that's where I'm coming from.
Okay. Winston, transformation. Because remember, transformation is not just race. Transformation also includes women issues. Transformation includes LGBTQI+. Transformation is transformation. It's an inclusion of communities, right, in spaces. And your thoughts?
My thoughts have always been, you've got to control the things you are able to control. If every one of us does better by virtue of us being who we are, we start to transform the country, right? So do better in your own space. The country will start to transform. Because be careful that you are not thinking, because for me, it was never the idea, and now we're going to talk in black and white. It was never the idea that we bring whites' living standards down to the level of blacks. It was to take blacks to the level of white, right? So the key is in enabling people to do better. But when I say enabling, it's the exposure, right? But you still got to fight the fight. You still got to run the race. And you still got to live. And I'm saying it to say that we have this idea that there's a magic wand, it clicks. No, guys. there's a process. And as the process goes on, things change. But you got to walk towards what you want it to become. Mobilize towards your dreams, towards that vision, and that vision will gravitate towards you.
Winston, I got a question.
Yeah.
Are you saying, point blank,
Yeah.
right? When it comes to transformation,
Yeah.
Black people shouldn't be prioritized, and we should just prioritize people and not say Black people first. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is, by virtue of the numbers we have,
Numbers of?
people, Black people, naturally, you'll be prioritized.
Why can't it be on paper?
It can be on paper, but remember also what's happening, right? So we're putting it on paper.
Yeah.
So then the person says, my standard doesn't have to be that high. Let me give you a practical example. So why did I think that Duduzane would make an awesome president? It's the man's character. You must understand the depth of character you're dealing with. This guy's discipline is crazy, right? So 2013, Duduzane's business is at 50 billion. That's how much it's worth. At his 30-something, early 30s, he employs 70. Then, I'm talking about it. Now he's 41, then, right? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So wait, you guys interrupted my story. So 50 billion, hiring 74,000 people. Man, now, Manu and Pais and your stomach and hire 74,000 people, right? So he's flying. He's doing the thing. 2015, boom, accounts closed. 3.6 billion, private account, closed. So now you have so now you go from what your account was to what you have in your pocket. If you have 1,000 rand in your pocket, that's what you're worth. Now understand, now my accounts have been closed. I felt that feeling. Guys, if I say to you, you feel distraught. Because as someone's talking to you, you know that after this 1,000 rand, pay this bill, we are done. There's a lot of things going on. We are done. I'm getting the text saying school fees for my kids. I'm getting all the texts. I'm getting the car bill. We done, right? And it's not like they pay your account, your bills off. No, they just take the money and it goes zero and everything starts to bounce. And they don't give you a date. So that was 2015, right? Today, Duduzane's accounts are still closed. They haven't said, no, come to court on this day. There's no court date. The accounts are just closed. You are charged. No, the accounts are just closed. That's a flex that we run this. You know what I mean? So rather than fall down and cry, we figure it out. He goes to Dubai. Yo, I am depressed. Guys, you're not understanding. Well, boy, the jets were out. It was that kind of life. You know what I mean? It was like, what time's your flight? No, up on the pilot. When we get there, that's the time our flight is. So it goes from that to nothing. And then there's haters saying, yeah, man, or whatever. The dignity that he struggles with, like a cool struggle. You know what I mean? Like, so a year in Dubai, second year, he's back. Yo, I come to Dubai, it's doing the most. I'm like, oh, we're back, baby. You know what I mean? So, and at home, I'm seeing the standard just going down. And I say, hey, Duduzane, I think you need to come back and lead the country. Now, understand, when I said that to him, he's like, Winston, you said a lot of smart things and you're my boy, so you deep like that. But this shit right here, if you've ever said some dumb shit today, I'm like, no, you know why? It's serious because you one person that's really not motivated by money. Money is a byproduct of his personality. Like that's weird. And I know people say that cliche, but it's just, if you have a Duduzane personality, you'll make lots of money because you just have that warmness about you that makes people feel some type of way. And if you're able to make people feel some type of way, the people stay with you, you know? So I'm like, he's like, no. I go back. So this is 3-4 times. The fourth time he says, okay, Winston, you know what I mean? You're persistent on this. Let's go. We come to SA. We go to speak to his own man. And why I tell the story again, I'm saying, understand that your vision is not revealed to everyone. You understand? And it doesn't mean because they love you, they're automatically going to see your vision. No. And it doesn't mean they don't love you because they don't believe in your vision. It's just, it's not revealed to them. You feel it in here. So Duduzane says, hey, Dad, I think we're going to chase this thing of the presidency. So this is, yeah, I know. The Youth League really needs a strong leader. Duduzane says, Dad, I'm over Youth League age. I mean, presidency of the country. He says, of the country. Hey, balambile la bafana. Abanike ukudla la. Injali yabathitha. And he walks away. So it's not like he goes, no, he leaves. Done. In this conversation, now you're ridiculous. And I say, Zani, okay, now we've done our part. So he knows our intention, we declared. Now let's go to Kimberley. And the rest is history. Because then the walk started to trend. Then Ubaba's phoning us saying, hey, guys, what are you guys actually doing? He said, no, Baba, but we told you. So I'm saying this to say that understand that when you have that, when you are people-centered, when you have that moral conviction, when you have that feeling, don't think, this one's a hater. I'm telling him, my dear, or her, my dear. No, it's not revealed to them yet. But it's all. Don't worry. It's still coming. You understand? You go with, there are others who are getting that SMS at night that's saying, from the man above saying, hey, Zama, go and support your sister, so-and-so. This is what's going to happen. And it's not even, it's just a strong feeling. Because people say to me, hey, Winston, no, the way you speak, I can see you're going to be Duduzane's DP. I say, I have no interest at all. My interest is to support Duduzane in becoming the president. That's my job done. That's it. We're done there. Being deputy president, I know, guys. You see, it's called Falcon 1, the jet. The thing's there. That thing will stay in Central Bay. It's not for me. You understand? Duduzane, it's his personality. Guy will be worth $1 billion wearing all stars. And you know what I mean? I'm not even near that number, but I'm not even near the kind of money that Duduzane is made. this is not Bobby Girl, anything. And you understand? So my character, that's not me. You understand? I still need to mature to that level to say, calm down. You understand? I'm still like, yo, we made it out. I'm still there. I'm working on it. You know what I mean? But and it's okay. But understand, when you see greatness, be like, no, this now, there's levels and this is something else. So I'm saying, I know I drifted a bit, but I'm saying this is where that journey, it's like real. If you have that kind of character, Duduzane will be president without me. That's him. It's written in the stars for him, because his character is what we need. We actually need him more than he needs us. So yeah.
Oh, by the way, you didn't realize I am black, but whatever. I just wanted to touch upon that from a transformational perspective. Or let's push and let's show them that we are just as able and capable as everyone else.
I love that. Okay, so because now I have to close this off, it's now no secret. He is running for president. It's Campfire. There you go. No, it's a big deal. But here's the thing. All of us are eligible to vote. Some of us have never voted. And that's okay, okay? We're not going to vote shame you. But we are encouraging you to vote. And it starts off with registering to vote. But you need a reason why, right? And we are young people. We have questions that need answers. We have thoughts that I would say, I think like this. Do you think like this? Before I close it off, I want to close it off with going around the campfire. Nearly said the room. Going around the campfire. And we're going to direct it to you and ask you questions. Right? I'm going to take about 3 hands. Questions that you have for him. This could be relating to your future. This could be relating to things that you personally care about, that you're hoping he cares about. This could be relating to a plan you hope he has about a particular thing that you're hoping, he has. Right? So I'm opening up the circle. Winston, we already know you support him. We already know how you're voting. We know you're sold. So ngizoqala ngawe siswami. Right? Ooh. So your question, anything you truly care about that you're hoping he cares about, or yes, Spinoza most tank much. Mr. President.
Yeah, I think I'm really, really happy with that direction, because that's something that we also talk about in small spaces, that it would be cool to see a young president, someone who knows what you're talking about, because unfortunately with people that are older, they still carry that pain from the past, and that's okay. But now we're looking at the future and the solutions. One thing that I'm very passionate about is education. I think because I have a young one, so I'm always curious to see how that would change. So that would be my first thing. Is that something that you see as a threat? Is that something that you, how would you go about changing that structure to help the youth, in the future?
Okay. I'm going to take all 3 and then you answer them. Is that okay?
I just want to know how you will fight this battle of youth inclusivity in social spaces, in business spaces, in all spectrums. How are you going to help us tap into those spaces? Inclusivity, actually. Yeah.
Yes, Mr. President. I think I think one thing that I'm also very passionate about is unemployment, because I've been there. I understand how it feels to not be employed. So I would like to ask, how are you going to fight the unemployment issues in the future? Thank you.
Remember me?
I think that was the sort of start off in chronological order. The question of education. It's a point that we've touched upon before in conversations. And if you look at South Africa, and once again, plan, strategy, where it is that we're going to, we need to change a whole host of things within the education sector. Starting off with introduction of new curriculums at primary school level. That would be more beneficial to students from a hands-on perspective. Because what you'll find is there's a chunk of students, learners in this country that may not be as well versed educationally as others, and they get cut out of the system, which leads to them not having job opportunities. When it comes to the actual results and what that means for their future, but are brilliant with their hands. Artisans, trades, whatever it is getting them married to the idea of it being okay to work with your hands. Because now it seems like the people that do the trade jobs were not good enough in school, or the people that didn't get the tertiary qualifications or even secondary in a lot of cases are not good enough, which I think is wrong. So introduction to the curriculum of hands-on trade skills. By the time you get to junior or middle high school, it's too late. You need people to start off early enough. The second thing, and I think it's my biggest talking point, is South Africa has an economy that is based on different sectors. Biggest contributors to our GDP being mining, agriculture, manufacturing, tourism. A few others, but those I think would be in my view the backbone of employment. Obviously outside of the public sector, but outside of government employment, but as sectors that exist. So if you look at most countries that take advantage of their economy and what contributes, or what the contributing factors are to the economy, they focus their education system to suit what the economy, what is beneficial of the economy. In this country, we have an abundance of arable land. We've got an abundance of mining opportunities. So we need to start pushing people in the direction of being mining engineers, mine owners, geologists. If they're focusing in the legal space, focusing on mining, and that goes for agriculture, that goes for tourism and that sort of thing. Because if we have too many people who are brilliant, that are qualifying as auditors and accountants, and other great professions, but we find the pool of opportunities are very small, because there aren't that many opportunities for that many people in that sector. We're fooling ourselves, and I think that's why we find a lot of people sitting at home, where maybe the flavor of that month or of that year educationally would have been a certain sector, so there'll be a lot of intake within that faculty, or on a tertiary level within that space that might be the flavor. Right now it's a lot of technological driven advances, so AI, VR, so people will be focusing on the tech stuff, and once again it becomes saturated, and you find people that will miss out on opportunities because they're looking at the opportunities that exist at a micro level and not at a macro level. So the macro outlook for our education system needs to change completely. It needs a drastic overhaul. We need to start deliberately pushing people towards hands-on jobs. So, AI is what we were speaking about. Robotics. These are things that are threatening people's jobs. But, as much as it's 3D printing and that sort of thing, people still need to lay those objects down. So builders, hands-on people, mixing of cement, as the bottom end of what construction would be. Those jobs will never go away, and we need to factor those in and absorb as many people as we can, because you find a lot of people are sitting, and a lot of people are not interested in sitting in boardrooms. They're not interested in sitting in lecture halls. Some of them might be bright minds, but they're like, look, this is not for us. So let's create a space where people feel they have whatever calling it they have an outlet to to shine. Let's give them those platforms. So I think those are the main ones. And then finally, when it comes to a policy perspective, one of the biggest talking points has been access to education from affordability. It's very expensive for people to study. I think that's what we've realized. We touched upon the fees must fall. We've seen certain policies that were put into place that haven't been effective along the lines of free education. How do we get our people to a point where there's free quality education in our country? And I think it's doable. How do we subsidize them? And as well, how do we get to a point where we're able to sift the people that are serious from those that are not serious? Because there are people out there that are taking advantage of the situation and creating a backlog and not giving people that are serious about the opportunity a chance to do what it is that they need to do. So once again, it boils down to us as a society. We need to stand up, and we need to hold each other accountable. We need to hold each other accountable for destruction of property. Just because you are having issues today in a certain tertiary institution does not give you the right to burn it down, because you're not destroying, you're not proving a point at that and whichever period it is, and trying to raise awareness. You're messing up other generations of people coming up behind you, for people that are supposed to have access to these libraries, to these lecture halls. So on education, I'll leave it there. Inclusivity, and I think all these are interlinked. Inclusivity, the one thing that disappoints me about young people is they're the hungriest. They always want the opportunities, but when the time comes, a lot of them are not ready for it. Some of them are not serious about the opportunities that they're given. We've been there. We've touched upon some of those points earlier on in different, Zippo touched upon them, Winston as well. Ryan has touched upon these points. You find young people do not take themselves seriously. And this is what I say to them. If you don't take yourself seriously, how do you expect everyone else to take you seriously? So once again, it's a collective effort. Guys, this is where we're trying to get to. We all need to stand up. Some people are not going to make it. Some people are going to make it. But we all need to push in the same direction. That's just what we have to do. That's just life, survival of the fittest. And that's the case in the inclusivity stakes. If we are not standing up, and if we're not being counted, if we're not able to take on the menial jobs, the jobs that a lot of us look at as degrading. Some people would rather sit at home than go into something that they feel, this is beneath me. That's unacceptable. You'd rather walk away from something because it's not cool, or because you'll be judged by your peers or your family members or your friends, as opposed to putting food on the table. What kind of mentality is that? And then we complain when we see other people that fit into that space because they're willing to take those risks and those insults. Some of them may not be from here, and then we say, these guys are coming in and they're taking our jobs. No, those jobs are there. So from an inclusivity perspective, the platform, we'll create the platform, we'll create the opportunities. You need to be ready when those opportunities come forward. So it's as simple as that. And yes, there are people that are going through a tough time. There are people that are sitting at home who walk the walk. Yes. Once again, the political decisions that are being taken impact us all. That's why we have to take this politics. We need to take what's happening in our country and who runs it. We need people that are in the governmental spaces, in governance, that look like us, that talk like us, that dress like us, that understand the issues of today for our people. Simple as that. We can't rely on people that are still stuck in a period in time. And it's not even an insult to them, but they've had their time, their struggles they fought, whether they've overcome them or not, they're reaping the benefits of those struggles. It's our time to say, guys, this is where we're at. This is what we need to do. We need to see the likes of ourselves filling those positions. We can't sit back and say, no, things are wrong and we need someone to come in. There's no superhero that's coming from anywhere. We need to be the ones to say, you know what sector are you in, man? Education. No, what sector are you in? Okay, facilities management. All right, so if you're talking about facilities management, Transnet, ESCOM, what the SAA, we've all traveled, I won't say we've all, I won't take that liberty, but we've traveled on trains. We've been on metro rail, we've been on Prasa, we've been on the Gautrain, we've seen the different experiences, we understand that there's a much higher quality of public transport that we should be afford experiencing it. That's, you will understand that you're in that space. You've traveled, you've probably been on the underground or whatever it is. Why can we not, high speed trains, bullet trains, are fortunately been on some. Why can we not have them here? You can't tell us no. We're far away from that and issues of budget. That's absolute nonsense. We're a wealthy country. We've got the resources. Let's just pull it out. And if we don't have them, there are people that are willing to invest. Let's open up that space. Let's not sit and now use politics to block each other. But from an inclusivity perspective, we need you out there. We need you out there. That's what I'm saying, guys. I'm ready to go there. We need more people standing up. It's not a let's go, yo. It's not a personal thing, because people are trying, I know, but now you're just I'm taking a look around. I don't see anyone putting their hands up. I don't. The more the merrier. It's we all know it's not an easy task being in at those levels of influence and power, and it's people that are there, and we're not making it seem like it's an easy job. They're faced with difficulties, but we've got this. We've got this. We've got nothing to lose. What's the worst that can happen? What's the worst that can happen? So let's build on it. So that was education, inclusivity, and unemployment. For the unemployment situation, unfortunately, where we're at, and once again, we need to look at the global scenario. The world is moving. How are we moving with this world? At the moment, we're dragging our feet. As South Africa in general, we're dragging our feet. We are not being bold. We're not being ahead of the curve. If you look at the latest advances in education, in technology, in energy, we've fallen behind the curve. There's a time where we were part of the nuclear race in the early 90s. We're nowhere now. We don't even have a nuclear plant. So, smoky. So let me just catch my breath in, like a forceful shisha. Oh, yeah, sorry. So if you look at unemployment in this country, it falls back to how we've handled our education system and the decisions that we made over a period of time. Our plan does not include young people. It doesn't. And as young people, we're failing to understand that we're not included, but we're not taking that step to say, hold on. We've got a voice. We also know how to sign papers off. We've been there. We experienced enough. We need to take that step forward. We need to occupy the spaces in the private sector and in the public sector. The most interesting thing that people say in this country, the respectful elderly people, is, no, these guys are too young. You're not ready. That's the biggest load of cow manure that I've heard in a minute. And the reason why I say that is, if we look at the people that have come before us, and let's speak about in the government space specifically, in '94, the very same people that still occupy positions in government, some that are off the seats of power. There were some of our ages when they were when they assumed power in '94. Early 30s to late 40s. That's just what it is. Some of them even younger. Now, the only difference between 94 and what will be 2024, sorry, 2024, my apologies. The difference between 1994 and 2024 is we are in a far better position. We're far more ready, because a bunch of us have had corporate experience, business experience. We understand governance, even though it may be on the corporate side. But I mean, governance is governance. So at that point where people inherited a government, which they fought for, which is great, and we respect them, we salute them, we thank them, they were definitely not as ready as we are to run this country, for sure, definitely not. So if you take the sum total of young people that exist in this country, now than then, there's definitely more qualified people, and there are more experienced people. We're in this position to do this thing. Let's get these ninjas, B. Let's get these ninjas. Yeah, that being said, I'll hand back over to Minnie, the MC. Mark,
I'm just chilling, yeah. That was awesome, right?
Yeah.
That was awesome. A big shout out to everyone that came through, to the ladies and gents behind the scenes, right? You guys are flipping awesome. Siyabonga kakhulu. Also, a big shout out to everyone here. Like, we appreciate your presence. We appreciate your minds. It's not easy to get out the things that are in your head. I know some of us are going home with questions. Let's jot them down. So many of the things we talked about here are conversations that we should just focus on alone and go, today we're just talking about inclusivity. Today we're just talking about unemployment. Today we're just talking about women issues. Because I realize, oh my gosh, there's so much to say. But, we're trying to start picking in in our minds. A big shout out to Winston, the storyteller. My gosh. I got a beautiful picture of you that I didn't know, It was really, really, really an honor to now be, I see people on Instagram, they're quite different, Yeah. And around a campfire. Have you ever seen that, So a big thank you, man. The media knows him as Duduzane. Those intrigued by him call him DZ. Those who love him call him Zani. Come on, we heard that today.
Yeah.
He stated his case. Now, what's your stance? Where do you stand? Have you registered to vote? What's your vote? Ungasali. Vote. Ungakali mthombo zoba.
after this, it's over. Forget about it. The next 50, 100 years,
Yeah.
all we'll do is talk around the campfire.
You heard it. Like, subscribe, share. Walk it, talk it. Boom. Bam.